we're leveraging AI. We're leveraging an experience that allows people to chat with an AI bot that is trained on all of our data and all the product data to essentially say, hey, I know you don't buy a CBCT every day, but without you knowing, here are the ones that you should be considering because you told us how your practice operates, how many operatories you have, what your timeline is, what your budget is, but it's also on getting the pricing down.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Raving Patients Podcast. Last week, if you listened in order, I interviewed Melanie Diesel, who talked about content marketing, but at the end, we also talked about a newer company called GroupUps, and that's what this episode is going to be about. It's with Yasin Abbak from GroupUps, and in this episode, we're going to explore how GroupUps uses data and AI for better dental equipment pricing. Learn about the long-term cost of overspending and gain confidence in securing better deals, not just for equipment, but for everything you buy in your practice. So I want to thank my sponsors, both Dental Intelligence and the Doc Site, for their support and remind everybody about my event in September called Supercharge Your Dental Practice in Scottsdale, Arizona, September 27th and 28th at the Scott Resort and Spa. Actually, Yasin will be a vendor there, so you'll get to meet Yasin in person. Yasin, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yay, I'm expecting everybody in the audience is applauding right now with their hands. So thank you, everybody.
Well, if they are watching it in order, you'll also notice that the background is exactly the same because we just recorded his wife, like I said, with the same background. So you may wonder what's going on here. It is a different day, but the same background. So Yasin is the founder of GroupUps, a tech platform that leverages AI data and the real-time purchasing intent of individual buyers to negotiate better pricing on equipment and to organize group purchases. To begin with, why don't you just kind of tell everybody what GroupUps is about, why you created it, and what the big advantage of using GroupUps is?
It really comes down to my personal story. So my parents immigrated here. My dad graduated literally top of his class from the best engineering school in Turkey. He came here and he started peeling potatoes and washing dishes. The man never worked a day in his life as an engineer. It's actually a very typical immigrant story. But I grew up around this brilliant person. All of my brothers did. There's four of us, four boys. That house was a little rowdy. I was the oldest. And I watched this brilliant man struggle his entire life to make his businesses work. We had a lunch truck. We had a bread and pastry distribution business. We had a restaurant. My father was instrumental in employing dozens of people in the local community. But he struggled. He didn't know what the prices of anything should be, and he didn't know if he was running an efficient business. Because how much info does he really have? It's not much. And I saw that growing up. So I wanted to make my parents proud, to do that. As the child of immigrants, you do a few things. You're either a doctor or a dentist, getting the big DR period before the name, which I did not do, though they did get one of us in medicine. You're a lawyer, you're wearing a suit and you're working in the big city, or in our family, because of my father, being an engineer was totally acceptable as well. They got two engineers. They got me, the crazy one. I went into finance. I wore the suit, but I left to essentially start my first business, which was in the supply chain of restaurants. That business is why we are now doing GroupUps. That business gave free stuff to independently owned restaurants, people like my dad. And what that meant was I got to help my dad lower his costs. In restaurants, margins are really thin. So how do I help somebody like my dad? I'm going to give him free stuff. Okay, perfect. Who pays for it? Advertisers. I had advertisers actually pay to get access to the distribution network, the value of the group as a distribution channel for advertisers. And they paid for pizza boxes, coffee cup sleeves, packaged wet towelettes. And that essentially became the precursor to what is now GroupUps. Yes, in between, I founded a sports tech company, sold that like 3 years ago. And that was a really fun ride. We had incredible people involved in that, in the space, like big time celebrities, which is kind of a weird for me world to be in, but it was a lot of fun. And immediately after selling that company, I actually incorporated what is now GroupUps. And the purpose of this is to do very similar to what I did with that first company. Enable independently owned businesses to make better purchasing decisions, make it easier to operate and run a business. And that's really what the goal of GroupUps is. How do I help people like my dad, which is probably a lot of your listeners, people that run their own practices, operate better? And we do that using data and AI and a data set that doesn't exist elsewhere, or the people that have the data don't necessarily want you to have it as the buyer. We give that to the buyers and use that data, which is all the quotes that we have coming into our database from people like your listeners, letting us know what their real-time pricing is on all this equipment. Now we have insight into what prices could and should be across the country. And we have a process, and we use AI to get through that entire process to get somebody to save right off the bat, within 2 days, $40,000 off of a, $360,000 quote, which is an exact client that I'm referencing that just happened last week. Within 2 days, we got that down $40,000 just because we have data and a process that works.
So before we delve into the content part, I want you to kind of just explain how GroupUps work, so people who are listening can understand a little bit better about what we're talking about here. Yes, they hear AI and data and all this other stuff, but walk us through how you actually operate.
Yeah, so I'll walk you through like the typical experiences for, let's say, for a startup practice. Startup practice comes to our website. They go to groupups.com. They'll fill out something called a wish list, which is basically, hey, here's the stuff that I'm looking to buy over the next year, 6 months, 3 months. And they give that to us. If they've already been talking to an equipment dealer, they'll submit that quote as well alongside of it. And then we turn it around to them and say, hey, your quote is good, or your quote is bad, or there's wiggle room, because we're cross-referencing the pricing that they gave us to our massive quote database of prices. And we're able to say this is a good, bad, or awesome price. Or even if it is a good price, we know how to get that price down significantly because we have the know-how and a process that's going to drive that price down. Opportunistically, and this is where it gets really cool sometimes, opportunistically what we'll find is as that startup is asking for us to help them negotiate or help them, tell them if they're getting a good price or not and how to get a better price, we're finding commonalities in people that are looking for the same stuff. Grouping is what we do as well. So when somebody comes to us and they're like, hey, I need a handheld x-ray. We've done multiple handheld x-ray group purchases. We're not a GPO. We don't pre-negotiate anything. But when we have a ton of interest coming in, purchase intent coming in, we aggregate that purchase intent. Thanks for sharing your shopping list. Others are buying the same thing. Now we take that and say to the distributor or to the manufacturer directly, hey, how much would this be? I know you sell it for XYZ. How much would it be if we were to buy 20 at the same time? Well, guess what? They want that business. They're willing to play ball. And it's more efficient. I get to bring them from their perspective. It's like me saying, let's talk about it like it's patients. It's like me saying, hey, what if I can bring 20 new patients to your practice? Versus me saying, hey, I can bring you 1 patient to your practice. What's going to excite you more? Obviously, the 20. And to get those 20 leads, what if I said, I can bring you 20 patients, but I'm also taking this offer to 4 other practices in your area, your competition essentially. Do you want the 20 patients? Well, can you give us a discount? You'd probably, as a business owner, a smart business owner, say, yeah, you know what? That's worth it to give a discount. There's 20 new patients. I know what the opportunity is for me with that. I'll call this part of my marketing budget. Well, we use exactly those fundamentals, organizing the demand side of the supply chain to drive down those prices. And how we make money is we take a percentage of what we save. So we're completely aligned with the practice owners.
I want to make it very clear. That's what I'm glad you brought it up. They only make money if they save you money. They take a percentage of the savings, so you don't pay them a dime if they don't save you any money. They put their money where their mouth is in this case. And I love businesses that do that because it proves that they know they can get the job done or they're just not making any money. So that's a huge, huge get. So let's talk about how, the first thing we wanted to run by was how GroupUps leverages data and AI to get better pricing on equipment. So I know you discussed a little bit about that a couple of seconds ago, but go a little bit more detail into that.
Yeah, so a ton of it starts with the quote database, data, information that others don't necessarily have. So I'll tell you how we actually got into dentistry, because this kind of identifies the problem immediately. When you're taking a look, so I was going to get a root canal, and my endodontist used to use my last company. Him and his friends used to use my app. And it was a popular app. So, he's like, hey, what did you do? I saw that you sold it. Or what are you doing now? I said, I'm getting discounts for small businesses on things like services, things like tech, software, stuff like that. And that turned into him saying, wow, I need that, but I need it on the big stuff that we buy. He walks me over to what I now know is a Carestream 8200 CVCT. And he's like, it took me 3 months to get this thing down to $12,000. 3 months. I don't have 3 months. That's a lot of time. And the other thing is, I don't actually know if it's $12,000 off. I don't know what the price is supposed to be. It's not like this is something that's common knowledge. It's not like looking at a car and you could, guesstimate how much something costs. You can't really do that with some of this equipment. You're not buying it every day. So I said, okay, this is interesting. Let me go to a trade show and kind of talk and learn the lay of the land a bit. So we go and go to a trade show, and I find out that the pricing for veterinarians is different than the pricing for dentists on the same stuff. Okay, now you're talking to, I'm an arbitrage guy. Every business I've built has been built on arbitrage opportunities. I knew what our launch market was. It was dentistry, and the reason is the problem is so bad in dentistry, and people get price gouged. That's the bottom line. People get price gouged in dentistry because dentists make a lot of money. Okay, well, we can solve that using data. So let's collect all the pricing information from everybody possible. The power of, if all your listeners sent us all the quotes that they've gotten over the past year and the quotes that they're getting for their future purchases, it's making our database more robust, and it's for the benefit of the user base, of the clients, of the people that are actually using GroupUps. So what does that mean? It means that we can train our AI to actually comb through the product database and the pricing database to identify immediately at the drop of a dime, is this a good quote? Is this a bad quote? Are you really getting a good price on this like you think you are because the sales rep might be a friend, let's say? Well, we take all the emotion out of it. We just use data. We say, based on the average price out of everything in the past 3 months, we give a preference for price recency, you're getting a decent quote. But there's wiggle room. And we think that our process, which is send it out for competitive bids to multiple distributors without sharing who the doctor is, that is the process that we deploy to actually drive down the price further than what the average price is as well. So that's how we use data, and the AI actually combs through our database of pricing information, but it also combs through our product database. So we have information on a ton of these products. So we had a hypothesis, which is, how do we replace the experience of having to build a deep relationship with the salesperson? All the data is coming out saying millennials, Gen Z, anybody younger than that doesn't really want to build a relationship with the salesperson. They actually don't want to talk to salespeople. So we're not going to hire salespeople. That's not what we're doing. What we're doing instead is we're leveraging AI. We're leveraging an experience that allows people to chat with an AI bot that is trained on all of our data and all the product data to essentially say, hey, I know you don't buy a CBCT every day, but here are the ones that, without you knowing, here are the ones that you should be considering, because you told us how your practice operates, how many operatories you have, what your timeline is, what your budget is. Are you looking for a Toyota? Are you looking for a Lexus? Are you looking for a Ferrari? We ask certain questions, and within a 5 to 7 minute experience, we know by the end of it what 3 options you should consider buying, all based on data and AI that is trained on that data. So that's how we leveraged data and AI. It's on the product discovery side, so it's education, but it's also and narrowing down what products you should go for. But it's also on getting the pricing down.
So everybody, you mentioned very quickly in the beginning of this little past conversation we just had, you mentioned about how you were looking at different similar products in different spaces, vet and dental, and how they were more expensive in dental. And I had that same experience with a bunch of companies in dental. We call it the dental tax. And I'm not going to mention the company because that's not the point of this. But literally, they had the same exact service, one for med spas and beauty salons and one for dentists. Same product, just different industries. And flat out on the website, they said dental was like $500 a month. The other ones were $250 a month. And it made 0 sense to me. I said, guys, you got to change that because you obviously are charging more to dentists because they make more money, and you can't do that. So I thought that was very interesting that you said that. So talk about how does someone know when and how to ask for better pricing? Because just saying I'm new or I can't afford it is not going to get you a discount. So talk about that.
Yeah. So you're saying the scenario of if a doctor is on his or her own and they're talking to a sales rep, how do they get a discount and how do they negotiate to a better price?
Correct.
The best thing is to talk to us at GroupUps to do it. But if I were a doctor on my own, you have to know what your leverage points are. So there are certain times of the year, for example, that you can use to kind of understand what the lay of the land might be. End of a quarter, for example, these are salespeople that are driven by commission. End of a quarter, people are usually driving towards a commission goal, driving towards a sales goal. Use that to your advantage. So put a time crunch on it. Then the this next part should not just be lip service. You should be serious about this. You should not be sold on anything ahead of time, because the worst negotiating position you can be in is when you decide, I want XYZ exactly. I am not open to anything else. It's like going in and saying you want a very specific type of car. Well, it's going to be a lot easier if you say, I want a car that can do ABC. These are the these are the three models that can accommodate for what my needs are. And if you come in with that mentality, well, you actually have leverage, because the salesperson might lose the deal. They need to feel like they can lose the deal, and they should potentially lose the deal. And you should be willing to walk that walk. So you have to know what your leverage points are and what their incentives are. And if somebody is, if you haven't been in sales before or you haven't negotiated anything before, I'll challenge you on that. Everybody is in sales. Everybody is in sales. Dental practice owners are in sales. Everybody is trying to prove value to the person at the negotiating table and having them buy what you are selling. That might be a procedure. That might be a root canal. That could be a number of things. That could be somebody joining your practice as a front desk employee or as an associate. Well, guess what? You're selling them on something. How do you sell? You stay quiet. You listen. You get 2 ears and 1 mouth. So you listen and you try to understand what it is that person needs. The better you listen, the more questions you ask, and a good salesperson, including your equipment rep, should be doing this in the opposite way. The more questions that you ask, the more you understand what they are actually in the market to buy. The seller is buying as well. The seller is buying is buying commission, basically. How do they get to their commission number? You need to know your leverage points. And a lot of that is time related. A lot of that is scarcity. Hey, this is one client, yes, but this person might walk and go somewhere else. They're scarce. They might not exist. They might not have this opportunity tomorrow. They might buy a Honda, and I'm the Toyota dealer. I can't sell Honda. You have to make them feel that.
No, and I agree with that 100%. So, we just talked about a single dentist trying to purchase something. Obviously, there's a difference when you go into a group. You have a lot more leverage when you have 8, 10, 15, 20 people wanting to buy a similar or the exact same product. Obviously, there are many types of CBCTs. There are many types of different types of equipment out there. So you may not get the exact same one you were looking at, but you have an opportunity to potentially get into a deal that's purchasing the similar type of equipment that you were looking for. So, talk about that. Talk about why companies are more willing to deal with a group. And I know what the answers are pretty obvious, but why is group purchasing the way to go versus being a solo doctor or solo dental practice owner trying to do it on your own?
Yeah, it comes down to volume. People want volume. Because, would you rather sell to one node, one person, one Yasin at GroupUps, who represents 50 practices? Or do you want to sell to 50 practices one by one and avoid Yasin, avoid GroupUps? If I'm the seller, I want to talk to that one central node. There's a reason why DSOs get better pricing. Because guess what? You can sell into 50 practices at the same time. Way easier to do that. If I'm a business owner, I want to do that all day. I want to sell to that customer all day. My job, what GroupUps is looking to do, is to make it easier for the seller to sell to that group of 50 practices all at the same time. If we can make it easier for that to happen, well, guess what? GroupUps just solved one of the biggest problems in selling to SMBs, which is how do we do it at scale? So when this gets to scale, meaning, as this builds up into a bigger company where we have enough volume on a monthly basis, let's say for, multiple group purchases to happen at the same time, guess what that turns into? Well, you don't have to maybe buy a similar product to the one that you were hoping to get. No, we can actually do a group purchase on the exact item that you wanted because there's enough volume of interest on our platform where every month we could execute a group buy on a specific brand of anything on behalf of the group, as long as we have more and more people come to us. So we need scale, we need volume, because that then gets repackaged for the benefit of the group when the manufacturer comes to us, or we go to the manufacturer or the distributor and say, we're buying 50. By the way, we're buying 50 every month. Guess what? Now we're more important to them than the DSO. Look at the percentage of individually owned practices in the US, even with DSOs coming in and private equity gobbling everything up, right? Independently owned practices are still the majority. And if we can be representative of the majority of independently owned, we would actually be larger than any DSO that's out there by far. Who's going to have more negotiating power? Who do I get to help? People like my dad who are actually creating those local jobs, who are recirculating that money back into that local economy, and who have an incredible vision for whatever they want to do for their business. I mean, we get to help business owners, and they don't have to, like, we basically bring 49 friends together for one person. They don't have to know the other 49. We do.
That's great. That's great. You're doing the networking for them is basically what you're doing. Obviously, setting up a dental practice is expensive. Buying equipment for dental practice is expensive. It's the biggest expense we have. You know, you can set up a doctor office with just a table and people can sit on the examining table and you have a stethoscope and you don't need any high tech equipment. You can't do that in the dental industry. So, and you mentioned, you know, you have to go in with some flexibility on what you're looking to purchase. But there's a lot of overspending going on. And when you overspend, there are long-term ramifications and exponential opportunities that you're losing by overspending. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Let's talk about the beginning stages of building a company. This is not specific. What I'm about to go through is not specific to dental. This is now my fourth company I'm either a founder of or on the founding team of, all with a decent amount of success. This has always been true. The right way to build a company is to be cheap in the beginning, because every dollar you save can get reinvested back into more things as you move forward. Every $100. So let's back into some math. Len, do you know how much it costs in a typical geo, let's say like a typical city, how much it costs to acquire one patient for general dentistry as a new patient? Do you have an idea?
The cost of customer acquisition is could be for a high-end procedure, $300-$400 maybe more.
If you got $300-$400, okay, so let's use 500 just to make it a simple number to work with. Do you know what the lifetime value of that customer might be?
A lifetime could be thousands and thousands, multiple thousands, tens of thousands of dollars over the lifetime value of a customer.
Okay, let's say it's $5,000. So $500 to acquire, $5,000 to generate revenue over the life cycle of the customer, right? And that takes care of the fact that you're not going to keep everybody for the rest of their lives. So, you know, maybe it is tens of thousands, but let's use the $5,000 number. So you're saying we could either spend an extra unnecessary $20,000 on equipment, or we could get $20,000 worth of new customers, which is 40 new clients, right, at the $500 cost per acquisition. How many did we say? 40 new customers? 40 new customers that, I mean, people should be doing the math here. 40 times $5,000, you're looking at, how much did you say is $5,000 per customer? So yeah, 40. So $200,000 in revenue, potentially in year one. On day zero, that's your marketing budget. I mean, you should be paying attention to costs, not as an afterthought after you've been running the business after a year. Because guess what? The success of your business is going to be determined by your launch off point. It's kind of like when you're negotiating a salary. Yeah, if you start at 100,000, you're going to get to 105. Maybe you'll get to 111 the next year. But if you start at 200,000 with the same percentage increase, you're obviously going to go up much higher and much quicker. So the starting point matters a ton when it comes to building a business. That includes on the revenue side. So every dollar you save is directly related to your revenue.
Couldn't agree with you more. That's exactly, you stated it so great there. So the last topic that we wanted to discuss was is asking for discounts, asking for better pricing, confidence around negotiating, because some people just say, I can't afford that, and they expect them to drop the price. So talk about that in relation to negotiating a better price.
So remember how I said everybody's in sales and you have to really listen to what the person across the table is saying to you. When you say, I can't afford that, what is that saying? It's saying what you need and what you want, right? I can't afford, I can't do this, I can't do that. You need to adopt the mentality of the person that you are selling the idea to, that they should lower their price. What is their incentive? What do they need? When you start thinking about what incentivizes them. So when you're talking to a salespeople, do you think, Len, if you're a salesperson, do you make more money when you increase your price or lower your price?
Usually it's when you increase the price, but there are a lot of other factors involved there. But yes, you definitely want to increase your price. That's the way you make more money. You raise your prices or you lower your expenses, one or the other.
Yes. So if I were, and salespeople are commission driven, right? So How do you increase commission that's percentage driven? Well, you increase the total sale price. So you're immediately starting off diametrically opposed. This, by the way, this is why we take a percentage of savings. Because in this industry where we realize that a lot of, especially the younger dentists, don't trust people that are selling to them or working with them, we wanted to take the element of trust out of it. I literally tell people when we talk to them to not trust us. I say, but you shouldn't trust, you should trust us as much as you trust everybody else in the industry. And let's assume that trust should be zero. I take the element of needing to trust us out by saying, hey, we're only going to get paid if you get paid, if you save money. So now all you have to do is trust that we like to make money. And I do like to make money. I like green. I like money. I like profit. Now you can follow how money is made. So when you're talking to a salesperson, and that salesperson is incentivized to increase your price or keep you at a minimum price level so that they can maximize their commission payout, what does that mean? It means you are, again, diametrically opposed in a negotiation. You want to go this way, they want to go this way, and you're going, or I should have said, you want to go this way, they want to go this way. How do you get to that scenario? Well, you have to take the conversation away from price and move it more towards other things that they are incentivized by. Timing, for example. End of quarter, like I mentioned earlier. Well, stop talking about the price. Now start talking about, well, look, I'm either, like I could get this deal, I can sign on this by the end of the month, or if we can't agree to a better price right now, then, give me another 6 months, I'll come back, or 3 months, I'll keep shopping around. Use the scarcity, use the timing aspect. You do have leverage, but just saying you can't afford something is I. You need to talk in terms of what the person across the table wants from you.
I just had, and I say I, you should not say I met a dentist or the husband of the dentist yesterday for Bird Eye. And the guy came back to me and says, I can't afford that. I need you to drop the price. So I lowered it slightly. He goes, I need more of a discount. I'm like, this isn't, let's make a deal. And he did not, there's only so much room we have on things. And so that has to be understood as well. So, Yasin, anything else that you want to make sure we cover, before we switch to my lightning round Q&A that I do?
Yeah. So, something that we wanted to offer your listeners or watchers, hello, and people that are part of the Facebook group, just let us know how you heard about us so that we can offer this to you. A free Rate My Quote analysis. And we will do that for, I believe it's 6 months. We will do all Rate My Quotes for anybody that comes in through that for free. And then give you an idea of if you are actually getting good pricing or not on any of the equipment that you have. You can send us a sensor quote, a CVCT quote, an entire startup practice quote, 10 dental chairs, doesn't matter. We'll rate the quote for you. We will show you the power of the database. And then if you really want to get fancy and work with AI in a really cool way, if you're not sure of what to buy and you're buying a CVCT, we will actually walk you through our AI and let you engage with it. And if you've played with ChatGPT, you're really going to love it. But this will help you get an idea of what you should actually be buying and considering. And because we don't technically sell anything, it's brand neutral. So you don't have to worry about us pushing a certain brand to you. We'll use whatever, our AI engine will recommend the brands that you are asking for. All the AI is doing is translating what you're telling it into the products that make sense. So yeah, would love to share that with your group, with listeners and viewers of the podcast. So just reach out to us on GroupUps.com, fill out the wish list, let us know that it was Dr. Len Tao that sent you. And we'd love to offer that.
So we're going to switch gears. We're going to jump into our lightning round Q&A. I'm going to ask you 8 to 10 questions here. Again, just answer them fairly quickly, 1 or 2 sentences max. Okay. How many hours a day do you work on average?
I can't answer this. I work in the shower because I'm thinking about everything. So I feel like, I kid you not, I dream about business. I'm pretty sure I had a dream last night. So if there's a 24/7 option available, that's it. I mean, it doesn't look like work to everybody, but every practice owner out there I know is doing the same thing. The business is on your mind. So you're probably working a lot more than the 40 a week.
Great answer. Do you have a favorite business podcast that you listen to?
Oh, I love the Acquired podcast.
What business-related book has inspired you the most, or what is your favorite book?
There's a few. I'll go with Randy Pausch. The Last Lecture it's probably my favorite book. The Last Lecture, Randy Pausch. He's a professor of physics, I believe. Really interesting story as he's battling cancer. So,
got it. What is the number one tactic you use to stay organized?
This is another tough one. I'll give a shout out to my friend who runs Superhuman. I use the Superhuman email app. My friend started it. They're an incredible company. It's a subscription product, and I think they can increase their price, 2, 3-fold, and also be a subscriber. It organizes my email, and it becomes my task list.
I love that product, but unfortunately, I don't have only Gmail, so I couldn't use it for all my emails.
That's
that was the problem there. Who has been your greatest inspiration? I think I know the answer.
My dad.
Exactly. I figured that one.
Easily.
Okay. What is your greatest fear, and how do you manage it?
My greatest fear is feeling like I have not lived up to potential. It is a really big fear of mine. It always has been. It is the biggest chip on my shoulder. I feel like I want to accomplish certain things, but that accomplishment is not guaranteed. So how do I manage that? I don't know. It goes back to one of the first questions, which is I work all day.
Yeah, you work hard. I was going to say that. That's good. That's good. What have you learned from the most successful person you know?
This is kind of a sad answer. When you're building a business and you prioritize work with family and everything else in your personal life and all that, as opposed to integrating it along with those things, your chances of success when you prioritize balance versus integration go down. And it's a sad answer, but it's the truth. I mean, to find the levels of success that you might want, and I'm talking about professional business success. I don't mean personal or spiritual, but you kind of need to be all in, is what I've learned.
Got it. What 3 adjectives describe your strengths?
I think I have an insurmountable amount of resilience. I'll go with resilient. I'll also go with creative.
Okay.
Bold.
One more.
I'll go with bold.
Bold, creative, and resilient. That's good. That's good. Who do you look to for advice or mentorship?
I think mentors are best found among peers, actually. People that are in the same life cycle, people that are climbing the mountain at the same height as you and when you're there. I find mentors to be usually peers, and a lot of times I find mentors from people that are just more knowledgeable in something, but are actually younger than me. People that have been dedicating their lives to things in ways that I haven't been able to. So, yeah, I look for people that are open to experience, and it just usually means that they have an interesting story to tell and an interesting story for me to learn from. But it's typically not, somebody 20 years my senior. It's just somebody who's been doing cool stuff for a while. Got it.
Two more questions. What is one thing you learned from your last startup that you've brought into the new startup that you are glad you did?
Ooh, I like this one a lot. The last startup, we originally had something that was what I call vitamin, something that's a nice to have, and that was the platform. This could be an episode on its own, but in an overnight decision, created a feature that became a must-have. It became a painkiller immediately. And that made the company take off. It changed the trajectory of the company. And I remember the exact moment it happened because it was an oh bleep moment. I will never build a vitamin again. I will always be solving problems. So, if it's not a major problem to be solved, it's not for me.
Got it. Last question. I think I know the answer because you mentioned it already. What is one subscription you cannot live without?
Superhuman. Yeah, Superhuman. I'd go with that.
Yeah, I figured that. So, all right, Yasin, that was great. You gave some great answers there. That was one of the best 10s I've done in a long time. So, thank you.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Yeah, Yasin. So how can people reach out to you? How do they find out more about getting GroupUps for their practice or joining one of the buying groups for specific equipment? Give your contact information so they can reach out to learn more.
Yeah, check out GroupUps.com. The website is simple. It's easy to navigate. The wish list is probably the best starting point. That lets you tell us exactly what you're looking for. The more info we get, and by the way, tell your friends about it as well. The more we get inbound requests from there, the more leverage we get. I know we're brand new to dental. We've been around for a little over a year now, but we've had close to $30 million worth of equipment requests flow through our platform already. It's working and it's growing at a rapid clip. So go to groupups.com. Probably wishlist is the best starting point. You can also do a rate my quote, which we're going to give you guys for free. That's going to be the best starting point. And then, like I said, tell your friends, talk about us on Facebook or wherever you get trusted information from, so that they can do the same. The more people we have engaged on the platform, the better the value is that we can provide to you.
Got it. Well, that was great, Yasin. This was awesome. Thank you so much for intriguing the audience. I'm sure they're going to be going to the website and checking out what you can do for them. And hey, if you're interested in equipment or purchasing equipment, GroupUps is the way to go. Reach out to Yasin and his team. Go to the website, check them out. If you know any friends, colleagues of yours that are going to buy some equipment, starting a practice, make sure you tell them about GroupUps as well. Let them, send them the link to the episode, review us, like the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, all the things you can help me. That would be really appreciated. But again, reach out to Yasin if you have more information about GroupUps. I know he would appreciate that as well. I want to again thank the sponsors, both Dental Intelligence and the doc sites, for their support, and remind everybody about my event that Yasin will be at called Supercharge Your Dental Practice, Scottsdale, Arizona, September 27th and 28th. You can go to superchargeyourdentalpractice.com and save $100 on registration by using the code RAVING, as in raving patients. We'll save $100 on the early bird that's currently available. And Yasin, again, thank you so much for joining me today. And remember, your reputation matters. Until the next episode, thank you so much, Yasin. We'll talk to everyone soon.
Thank you.